Hello, everyone, and welcome to Turn Zero Loss, hosted by the Magic Engineers. My name is Eli, and I am joined today by David and Sherry, just like always. Today, we are going to be discussing some of our favorite alternate win cons in EDH. So, just to kick us off, I think that Sherry should go first and talk about his list that he has here.
This is
And
not
feel
what we
free to
discussed.
I know. I just want to bounce it around, freak you out. Basically, tell us a few of the alternate win cons that you like to see, that you would like to pull off, and then maybe if you have time or if you have an inkling of a doubt about it, maybe give us one that you really don't like.
Okay. So my alternate win cons are kind of like categories of win cons because they're a lot of these are like I have a couple of them on here that are pretty similar to each other. And I'll start with the one of the more interesting ones, near death experience. For those who don't know, near death experience at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly one life, you win the game. This is an utterly ridiculous win con, and I love it. I've never seen anyone ever pull it off, or even attempt to pull it off, because it is literally it is basically suicide in EDH. But there's a respect.
Yeah, it gets punished so quick.
Yeah. And along with this category of basically like you will get punished so quickly is the Bearing Glory and channel favorite, the Cheese Stands Alone. Which they do have different texts. There is a slight rules difference with those. I found out the other day.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
The Cheese Stands Alone does not wait until your upkeep. It's what
Oh.
Yes. Bearing Glory does. So these are like this kind of archetype of alternate win cons are literally you're going absolutely all in. You are dedicating yourself to the cause, getting the purest of Pyrrhic victories. Like destroying everything to try to get with Bearing Glory. I think that's something that's I think respectable. And I think it really is like if I would never be mad to lose to that kind of victory. Or lose to that type of alternate win con because it's just so well earned, and there's so much risk.
I'd honestly respect it more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll kind of move my second one. This one's actually just a standalone card. It is the only win con in my beloved tapped tribal deck, Halo Fountain. Halo Fountain for those
still trying to make it happen.
Still trying to make it happen. Yep. Halo Fountain, for those who don't know, is 2 and a white. Has white, tap, untap, tapped creature you control. Make it 1/1 citizen token. Pay 2 white. Tap, untap 2. Tapped creatures you control. Draw a card. And then finally, pay 5 white. Tap, untap. Tap, untap. Creatures you control, you win the game. When you actually have to spell it out, you realize how many it makes the word tapped meaningless. You say it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
This is an all-in strategy. This is you basically being as vulnerable as you can be having 15 tapped creatures on your board. And I think you deserve to win with that 5 mana if you leave yourself that long. I just really like this. I will never be mad at a Halo Fountain victory. It's just all these ones kind of a theme of like, I can't really be mad because these are all extremely hard earned and they're just like fun to see them actually win, even if you're not the ones playing it. What do you guys think? Would you be angry at a Halo Fountain victory?
I'd never be angry.
No, I
at
couldn't.
A Halo Fountain victory. Like that's just there's too much that has to go into it. And I honestly it's not even a cheap victory. That's a hard earned victory.
Yeah, you're giving yourself to the cause,
like,
giving yourself to the Halo or the cheese or near death experience.
Yeah, you're all in.
All in. And then there's something to be said. On a different category kind of alternate win cons, these are 2 of my favorites. First is Hedron Alignment. And for those who don't know, Hedron Alignment is 2 generic and a blue. enchantment, hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal your hand. If you do, you win the game if you own a card named Hedron Alignment in exile, in your hand, in your graveyard, and on the battlefield. Pay 1 generic and 1 blue to scry 1. Now, you listen, you hear this. This is effectively impossible. It's not effectively, it is impossible under the current rules of Magic. Because even if you're able to generate tokens, they do not survive being exiled or being in your hand or being in the graveyard for that matter. They only really, you can only have the actual card in your hand. So in being a singleton format, you can actually run it, which if someone says they're coming in with a deck that has 4 copies of Hedron Alignment, I will not be mad. I will hope they will have a way to actually win with it. It is basically impossible legally, but my Clair de Lune deck actually has a way to do this. But also that is not exactly the most legal deck in terms of cards that it's playing. So you have to basically change the rules of Magic to make this victory possible. And speaking of impossible, also my Clair de Lune deck is Battle of Wits. Battle of Wits is at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have 200 or more cards in your library, you win the game. It's ridiculous. It led to one of my favorite competitive decks of all time that actually won with Battle of Wits, because it was the fact that was ever could be played at a competitive level is just beautiful to me. That someone had all these 200 cards they shuffled together. I think that deck ended up being more, but it was kind of, I like the idea of it. I like that you are literally bending the rules of EVH if you allow this to happen. So yeah, that's not quite it for me. Alternate wincon I dislike is Thassa's Oracle. It's boring and derivative.
We've talked about it enough on the channel, I think.
Yeah.
Go watch that video if you haven't seen it already.
David, well, since we're mixing up the order a little bit, how about you go next?
All right. So mind weight conditions are fun and interesting, and I love them. So first of all, Coalition Victory would be on this list if it weren't for the fact that Coalition is
unbanned. Coalition Victory,
unban it. Yeah,
based.
It's absolutely weak ban. Anyways, my first one, you guys should really see this coming. It's Maze's End. Yeah, I don't care. So for those not in the know, Maze's End is a land that enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add 1 generic to your mana pool. You pay 3 generic and tap it, return it to its owner's hand to search your library for a gate card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. So this card paired with Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, was the menace of the playthrough. Like this deck would not stop winning, and it would always win the same way. And it was great, and I loved it. Yeah, boring and derivative, but yet victory somehow overrides both those.
That's why we know you.
Exactly.
But so a little bit of background, this deck that he made pilled me into being pro land destruction.
I didn't know I actually pilled you into that. Jesus.
You're the reason I became a land destruction evangelist.
I'm so honored. But so this deck, right? So like basically the idea of this card is, okay, you seek out a bunch of lands that all have these different names that are all gates. You put them on the field and you make Mazes effect happen one more time and you win the game. Now, you don't have to get all 10 lands with Maze's End, so it allows you a little bit of flexibility as to how you construct the deck. And Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, was the best commander to build this deck with, but Golos, Tireless Pilgrim was also the best commander to build every deck with, so he got banned.
Rightfully so.
So there are others that you have to utilize. Like this is a 5-color deck by necessity, so you have to kind of go in with the expectation. So, you're not using slivers. You could make Ur Dragon work with it, but my favorite here is Child of Alara, because nuking the board in response to anyone trying to stop you is always a great idea. I'll tell you, if you could go Progenitus, which has protection from everything, just for fun.
Yeah. They also, in Baldur's Gate, they've made it way easier to win with a Maze's End deck because they added I think it was 10 more gates, I want
Yeah,
to say.
so now your mana base is even
So
better because they're gates that don't come in tapped, which is completely unfair. They created the nicknames of gates, which made me really angry.
yep.
Yeah. My Gates deck needs a bit of an upgrade with those Baldur's Gate cards, but yeah, this wincon can be very, very good if you plan around it and build and construct it correctly.
That can be, it is good.
In fact, in fact, if you construct the deck correctly, I dare say that winning with Maze's End is an inevitability if you could survive long enough.
Much like Thanos.
Yes. So my next win condition is much less controversial at this table because I've never won with it, although I've come very close, and that's Happily Ever After. So Happily Ever After is a card from Throne of Eldraine, and it is a 3-cost enchantment, 2 generic, 1 white. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, 6 or more card types among permanents you control, and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game.
This is
a lot of requirements.
Now, there's 3 separate conditions here that are required, but you can make it work really well. For instance, when you blink this card in and out of existence, you gain card advantage and you also get life advantage, which really helps with showing up the life part of this particular strategy. So, stuff like Aloro or Brago, King Eternal are great for this deck if you're going to build around it. That said, though, you also are required to go 5 color with this one as well, because you need all 5 colors among permanents you control. There are alternatively, you could just steal them, which you can, there's plenty of ways to steal in blue and white. So, take your pick. You don't necessarily have to play 5 color to make this work, but you have to have 5 colors at the table.
It depends on how easy or difficult you want it to be on yourself. That's really also
That's what I like about it, is that you can build around it really easily and have it work, or you can make it very difficult with going like 2 or 3 colors only, and you can still make it playable.
This card, I actually looked at when I was looking at different alternate win cons, and I'm like, this to me is like Wizards trying to like, I don't want to say like virtue signal coalition victory, but this is like a slightly harder coalition victory. And I'm like, just reprint coalition victory, make it legal for everything. It didn't do anything wrong.
Didn't understand. So, but I really like this card. I've been wanting to build a proper deck around it for, I'd say years now, but I've never gotten around to it because I don't know, life's happened. So maybe at some point I'll find time to sit down and construct and brew this baby up, ideally in 2 colors, because I want it to be funny. So, all right. The next one is more of a loose condition than a win condition, but I think it's really funny. So I'm going to put it on this list. 9 lives paired with Vedru the Great-Hearted.
I saw this one. I'm like, I didn't quite know if lose conditions counted, but that's a great one. That is a favorite of mine.
So let me describe what both these cards do. So 9 lives is a 3-mana white enchantment, 1 white. It's hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on 9 lives, exile it. When it leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. Vedru the Great-Hearted is 1 Jeskai, which is blue, red, white. It's a legendary creature, Minotaur Monk, 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of permanents you own that your opponents control. And then you can pay blue, red, white to basically give target permanent you control to target opponent. So say you have 8 incarnation counters on 9 lives. Then you donate 9 lives to, say, Eli. Then say, for instance, you have like a prodigal sorcerer on the table. You pay him, he dies. Great. This ultimate Wicon is so funny and so absolutely ridiculous that I kind of had to put it on this list because it's just so fun. And I really want to make it work as well. In fact, Vedru the Great-Hearted has been like a commander I've had my eye on for a really long time.
I've had like the rough idea of like, it would be called like, here's my trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of win is like this. I'm on the same lines. It's like a demonic pact win,
Yeah,
except
kind of.
demonic pact is inevitable.
Yeah, this one is much less guaranteed, but it's much more fun.
And you get to have a kitten on your board when you die.
All right. Yeah. My final win con, and this one is a dishonorable mention, Helix Pinnacle. I really don't like this card. So for those unfamiliar, Helix Pinnacle is a 1 green enchantment with Shroud. Pay X to put X tower counters on Helix Pinnacle. And if you have 100 or more tower counters on Helix Pinnacle at the start of your upkeep, you win the game. That's it. That's all it does. You literally just dump your mana into it and you win the game. And you can't, it's really hard to remove because it has Shroud. It's really hard to do anything with because it has Shroud. Shroud actually makes this card go from tolerable to an absolute nuisance.
And the fact that it's any amount of counters makes it really easy to do. Even if you're just casually putting in like mana at like before you turn, like, oh, I'll just use my untapped lands, throw 2 in. So that's an incremental advantage.
If you're playing off-ball, this doesn't take very long to get to at all. Like, you can get to this realistically within 2 turns.
Yeah.
And because it's so hard to interact with, you can't really stop unless you blow up all the elves, which is easy to do, granted, but still, like, I don't like being made to do that when there's no real reason to, because it's just kind of rude. So yeah, Helix Pinnacle is just a generic mana dump that, already exists plenty of other ways in Magic. It already exists in stuff like Thrasios. It already exists in stuff like Azuri, Renegade Leader. There's so many mana dumps that exist that win you the game already. This is not any more unique than any of them. So I really don't like this card. So I really don't like this card.
A similar win condition, which is like Biomancer's Ascendancy, where you have 20 +1/+1 counters or more. You win the game. I think it's at the end upkeep, but still. But if you're in a +1/+1 counters deck, that's easy to. It's basically like playing the game on easy mode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. That's my list. Eli, you want to give out your choices for why Maze's End is the best win condition in Magic?
No, we're going to talk about my list that does not include Maze's End. The first card I got here is Triskaidekaphile. Triskaidekaphile is 1 and a blue for a creature, human wizard. It's a 1/3, and it reads, you have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. And you can pay 3 and a blue to draw a card. I think it's a really interesting card design, and it also plays on the Triskaidekaphobia, which Triskaidekaphobia is fear of the number 13. So Triskaidekaphile is love of the number 13, obviously. And honestly, it's just a really unique kind of win con. Like, in my opinion, having to have a certain number of cards in hand for anything usually makes it a little bit harder to pull off. So sometimes it's like, you get to draw a card spell, or everyone discards their hand spell, or et cetera, et cetera. It's not super hard to pull off, in my opinion. It's actually quite easy, but it just feels satisfying to get to that number 13.
This is the most you of this. I've seen you with many times having 13 cards in your hand, but just not winning the game. And sometimes I wish I was like, man, I wish he had a Triskaidekaphile just to end this, because I know he's going to win.
Yeah, it's amazing. I should definitely start playing it in more of my decks, but it's just sometimes it doesn't match what I need to do. The second card on the list is Mechanized Production. So Mechanized Production is 2 and 2 blue. It's enchantment aura, and you get to enchant an artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, you create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then, if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. This one's pretty easy, but it's also entertaining because artifact victories are something that aren't super common. I think I was torn between this and Hellkite Tyrant, to be honest. But both basically have the same win con. You need a bunch of treasures, or you need something that could spit out a lot of the same artifact, which, Brutaclad could do that pretty easily for you. You could just turn all your artifacts into the same thing. So whatever it needs to be, Mechanized Production could get it done for you.
I think it's fun. It's definitely, it's a lot more fair, but granted, it's gotten, every time they print a new token that they decide to really boost, it gets even easier. And I've become a little less like keen on the card, because I'm just like, well, Now the treasures are a thing. This card got easy mode. Oh, food too. Oh, clues as well.
Yep. Every new artifact token that comes out makes mechanized production even better. And also makes people want to run artifact removal, mass artifact removal. But the last one is kind of a dream shot for me. It's obviously Exodia, the forbidden one. Just kidding. It is called Approach of the Second Sun. It is 6 generic and a white, and it is a sorcery. This is like a massive bulk rare in any set that you're gonna ever see. So like, whenever you're pulling cards from Amonkhet or wherever it's been reprinted, you're basically guaranteed to almost pull this card at least once. And you look at it and you're like, well, this is trash. Why would I play this? Here's why you play it. So Approach of the Second Sun reads, if Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. Otherwise, you put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library, 7th from the top, and you gain 7 life. So the dream in far imagination land is you're going to Narset's Reversal your own Approach of the Second Sun. So you're not going to win the game after casting it the first time, but because you get to cast it the second time from your hand, then you get to win the game. That's
Fun
just
fact,
the dream.
my only victory in my tap travel deck was because Approach of the Second Sun.
Yeah, it's not an easy victory to pull off. It costs 7 mana to cast this one sorcery that basically does nothing except gain you 7 life.
I'd say this is I've seen this wincon go off a few times, and this is a particular favorite of Staxy players that only need to delay the game to win. So, I can see that I've seen this card win before in quite a few decks, and yeah, it's good. I like the design, and I think it's interesting. It's just, I think I've seen it just win a little too much for me to qualify it as a favorite.
Oh, you know what? I just realized the Narset's Reversal thing won't work because it has to be cast. Never mind.
Yep.
Forget that dream, but bigger goal dream, cast it twice in a game because you're good, I guess. I don't know. Figure it out. Don't shuffle your library after you cast it. Don't get your library shuffled after you cast it. Win the game. Do it. I'll be proud of you. 7 mana is a lot. Anyway, my final of the bad. So here's a bad win con in my opinion, and this might be a hot take in some people's eyes, is Revel in Riches. So Revel in Riches, for those that aren't aware, is 4 and a black for an enchantment that reads, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's a treasure token, blah, blah, blah. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. This card, with the plethora of treasure token support that's been constantly pushed on us,
it's been like 3 years, Eli.
has become better and better. Yeah. However long it's been going, 2, 3, 4, however long they've been pushing treasure tokens on us even more than they were before. This card has just been getting better and better. And in my opinion, it's kind of a cheap, easy win, and I'm not a real fan of that kind of win, because it is simple as either have something that produces a lot of treasure for you, or you have a board wipe in hand with plenty of creatures on the board, and you cast that, and you get all the treasure tokens.
This used to be a fun alternate win condition. I literally bought this card right before they printed.
Yeah, it used to be.
Like, they just went all in on treasure tokens.
Yeah. Yeah, this card, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
died to me once Dockside Extortionist got printed. Like, that was what put it over the edge for me.
Yep. Yeah, stuff like that. Old Gnawbone, Goldspan Dragon, Zorn,
Magda.
all those cards. Oh gosh, what was it? Beggar Stash, Magda. All those cards that just make a bunch of treasure tokens basically killed this card. It's like it's just too consistent if you're gonna be being in a treasure strategy. So yeah, that's it for my list of alternate win cons that we love and hate. Tell us why you want to play Exodia inside your deck, and why your friend group should allow you to do it, because you can't win the duel because you're playing a game. Otherwise,
In addition, tell me about the time that you slotted in a Shohei Ohtani baseball card into your deck.
yeah. Let us know how you feel. Tell us in the comments. Give us a like if you like the video. Subscribe too if you're really enjoying our content. Follow us on at X, Twitter, but definitely Twitter at Lost Turn, and we will see you for the next video. And remember, magic is dead.
Magic is, in fact, not alive.
It's very dead.